Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there. This is Ben Dickerson. I'm your co-host. I love Ben and Barry on football. Love doing it. And this is our favorite time of year, the actual football season. NFL football at its best in a very, very interesting week one.
Oh, man, I'm telling you. Okay, we're going to get ready to jump right into it, as a matter of fact. It was a very interesting week one. Some surprises, some things we thought might happen. Some of my one of my new whipping boys showed up. We'll talk a little bit about him. So let's kick this thing off, Ben, by talking about by talking about the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, just so people have a quick graphic idea about what we're talking about, because we're going to use the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, and they're going to be used to calculate the Bias Plus reports. So let's make sure we know what's going on, and we actually have the graph of week one. Now, if you notice up in the comments, what I said about this was it looks very much the same as 2019 week one, with the Ravens winning big. Remember that?
Yes, sir. I remember that.
They led in net points like from the start, so much because of how far ahead they were in week one. And we try to caution people about that, but it is what it is. So as you can see, there was a pretty big differential there for the Baltimore Ravens. And on the opposite end, the team that they beat, the Cleveland Browns, in negative points, those are the points that they gave up. So you can see the symmetry in the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. Most people don't realize that in any one point of time, half of the league is in negative net points, or at the very least, even at zero. So long story short, this is the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. And I'm so sad to say that the Bias Plus Buster of the Week was the Arizona Cardinals, who defeated my beloved 49ers, San Francisco 49ers. I should blame it on the smoke. It was the smoke, you know what I mean?
What, the smoke from the fires?
The smoke from all the fires, right.
Bro, don't please don't start up. I called this game. I was just about 50% this week, which is not good. However, I did call this one. I did call for the Cardinals win.
We talked about it, and I talked about how scary they are, and that people have been talking about them as a playoff contender. And, you know, the way that they used DeAndre Hopkins was just right. Watching him run the air raid offense now, and watching how comfortable DeAndre fell into it and everything, what was absolutely amazing. His running abilities sort of saved the day. I thought that overall we did a pretty good job, but my Niners coming down the stretch in the last 4 minutes or so of the game, when they needed to be able to score, we weren't able to do it. And then even once we got when they got the ball back, we needed to make a stop, and we couldn't do it. So it was those closing moments of the game that kind of did us in, man. But, you know, congratulations. You'll see that this bias score is very high. The first week of the season, since there's no previous week points to utilize, we utilize the final points from the previous season. So that bias score of 229 was from 2019, and you can go back in the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and find out all about that. But you take the unfavorable bias of 229, and they had a 4-point net win, which gave them a bias buster score of 2 33. So congratulations to the Cardinals.
Well, I must say I'm very proud of that, because the crazy thing is, and again, it would have been very easy to go with the bias on that particular game, because the bias was based on last year's numbers. And obviously the 49ers made it to the Super Bowl, and the Cardinals were pretty woeful by the end of the season, record-wise and net point-wise. So I'm going to take a lot of credit for that. But I cannot blame that on the other losses that I had, because the other losses were not games between teams that had a large disparity at the end of the season. So that's my mea culpa for the day. The games I lost, I just screwed them up. I have no excuses.
The Sterling, the Bias Plus report was 0.6875 correct.
0.6875?
Almost 69%.
Okay, so if I had 8 wins and 7 losses, where's that put me, Mr. Mathematician?
Well, that would be 15 games and not 16.
I'm sorry. Because we already talked about the Pittsburgh game. I mean, the
Thursday night game.
Thursday night, yeah, I didn't count the Thursday night game.
But you got that right.
I did. Right? I got that one right. Okay, then I got 9 wins and 7 losses.
Okay, so I was 11 wins and 11 wins.
Okay, so I wasn't that far off.
Losses. You weren't that far off.
So in that case, I will blame it on working with last year's numbers. In that case.
No. Can't do that now. No. Sorry, buddy. All right. So what we're going to do next, let's look at the rankings. Going from 32nd to 25th, we're looking in last place on the net points. That's NP net points. Let me go across the headings there. You have ranked team NP for net points, PF for points for, PA for points against, and our beloved Todd for turnover differential. So the Browns pretty much locked up last place in terms of net points, points for, and points against. That all works together the same. Sadly, the Buccaneers took last place in turnover differential. Tom Terrific had some difficulties. And it's funny because with this first game, with everybody just playing one game, there's a lot of teams that are sort of lumped together in terms of their numbers. In terms of the net points, you'll see 25, 26, and 27, and 28 all at -10. The Buccaneers at -11, the Falcons at -13, and the Texans at -14. The Falcons, it's absolutely amazing their consistency in their statistics, and the fact that they still lose. When I looked at the passing for the league, you got an offense. You got the Falcons putting up 506 yards of offense. So, to find yourself down at 30th is amazing. In terms of scoring, again, Browns only scored 6 points. They missed their kick. It went doink. Dolphins at 11, Bengals 13, Broncos 14, Giants and the Titans and the Chargers at 16, and the Eagles put up 17 points all in the first half and lost that game big time. Browns giving up 43 points. Texans and the Falcons giving up 38. Texans giving up 38 points is ridiculous. Not
against Patty Mahomes, it's not.
Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit more. Falcons, 38. Buccaneers, Eagles, Jets, and Giants all giving up 34 points, and the Dolphins giving up 30. You'll see how that points against works in terms of turnovers. the Buccaneers and the Eagles at last and next to last with -3. Isn't that crazy? Wentz and Tom Brady.
Right. Who would have thunk it? Two very beloved quarterbacks as far as football fans are concerned in general, and for Wentz, Philadelphia Eagle fans specifically. But yes.
Dolphins, Browns, Bengals, and Falcons, all with -2. Cardinals and Giants at -1. So that rounds out your bottom 8. Before we move on, any comments for this group?
Only that for the next couple of weeks, we'll be doing the same thing or saying the same thing about the team that lost to the Ravens early in the season last year. Every time we say their numbers, we're going to say, of course, remember, they got blown out by the Ravens in game 1. It's going to take the Browns a little while to dig themselves out of that hole.
The conversation with Beckham was very interesting where they asked him, like, don't you wish that they got you more involved? I saw him flub at least 2 passes. He had some contact, but if you're a superstar, you catch those balls. I thought he had some representative attempts his way. You might know a little bit more about that with fantasy, but I wasn't real impressed by what he produced coming out of that situation. So
nor was I. He was rounding off his routes. I don't know if it's the lack of preseason work, but he's got some work to do to make himself relevant in fantasy. That's for sure. And he was ranked pretty high going into most fantasy drafts. There's a lot of folks kicking themselves right now if they spend a high pick on him.
The other thing about the Browns is that they have a lot of talent, and so they should be spreading it around. It's interesting when you look at how the Cardinals did it. We'll talk a little bit about them, as with their number 1. But let's move on. All right, 17 through 24. There's your Vikings at 24. Kirk Cousins, gotta love that guy. Vikings gave up 27 points. They're in 24th place with points against. Jets in 24th place in terms of scoring, along with the Cowboys. Jets and Cowboys put up the same amount of points there. Back in that points, you got the Panthers, Lions, and my Niners at -4. Niners couldn't score 4 points. And does that sound like what happened in the Super Bowl? Like we couldn't score it in the final, just get a touchdown or whatever we needed. I mean, we were right there breathing on the goal line. And then finally, the Cowboys, the Bengals, and the Broncos round up 19 through 17 in net points. In terms of scoring, Buccaneers did put up 23 points, Patriots 21, Rams and Niners and Colts and Texans all put up 20 points. Broncos, in terms of points against, 17, gave up 23, Bengals 24, Cowboys 25, Niners 26, and Lions, Panthers, Colts, and Vikings all gave up 27. Vikings, Lions, Broncos, in terms of turnover differential, all gave up -1, and then the remainder of that group, Texans, Panthers, Jets, Rams, and Raiders, wound up even at turnover differential of 0. So that's where everybody wound up for last week. Any point before I move on?
No, we can move on. This is the middling group, as I like to call them, or the lower middling group.
That's the lower middling. This is the beginning of your top half here, your 9 through 16.
Upper middling group.
9 is the Packers. Man, let me tell you something. All I could think of as I watched Aaron Rodgers was 2 words: arm talent. Arm talent. He still has the ability to put balls in places while he's moving that is just uncanny. Speaking of uncanny, there was some Minshew magic going on there. +7. Cardinals Bears, Raiders, all +4. Chargers, Rams, and Titans. Well, Chargers and Rams at +3 and Titans at +2. In terms of scoring, there's your Bills there, ninth place, Benny. Tied with Washington, the Jaguars, and the Bears, who all put up 27 points. So obviously, this is about where you start winning nowadays in the NFL. +20. You got to be somewhere north of 20 because your Lions, well, they didn't win, but they put up 23. The Cardinals put up 24, and Falcons put up 25, and the Steelers put up 26. What do you think about the Steelers?
I don't know. I don't want to say. I mean, let's face it. We're talking about an NFL team. I don't want to say they came in and took the Giants lightly, but the Giants had their way with them early in the game. They were able to throw the ball, and Danny Dimes was moving the Giants up and down the field pretty easily. It may have been a different game. I don't know if they had cashed in on that humongous 19-play drive that they put together to get deep in the red zone, only to get a ball knocked out of his hands and intercepted in the end zone. So
Did he go full Eli on that interception or what? Or would Eli had not even done something as goofy as that?
What was goofy? He didn't even see the guy come, and he cocked the ball back to throw it, and the dude came from the side and hit his arm. What's goofy about
that? Ball should have been gone a long time before that.
Nah. Oh.
That ball should have been gone a long time before that.
Okay. All right.
But I will say this much. The Steelers looked like they came out in the first quarter in like first gear, not really being able to move too much. By the second half, they were kind of in gear a little bit. And so they were able to now start to score and move that ball around. And the other thing tell me, what did you think about their ability to get to Saquon behind the line of scrimmage?
That was troubling. That was troubling. He was tackled for loss several times. I'm not exactly sure what his rushing yardage was, but I doubt he gained more than 20-something yards, if that. It was troubling. I don't know whether I can say it was their front seven, or maybe it was a lack of ability by the Giants' offensive line. Either way, it's troubling. I didn't like it. As good as I felt about Daniel Jones and his growth between last year and this year, and I can't say anything bad about Saquon. There's no doubt about that. But up front, it just doesn't look like they have it. I know they're starting one rookie at tackle. I think they got a rookie guard. I think they got a center that used to be a tackle and is now playing center. Yeah, they still got problems on the front line on their offense.
Barkley had 15 carries for 6 yards.
That's okay. I don't even want to. Let's move on.
All right, let's move on. Oh, well, let's finish out here. We have the points against here. Titans coming in at 16. The Rams, 15 with 21 points given up. Chargers, Raiders, Bears, and Cardinals all gave up 20. Jaguars and Packers gave up 17. And in terms of your turnover differential, your Colts and your Bills at 15 and 16 respectively, coming in at 0. And then we have a bunch of +1s. The Niners, the Steelers, the Chiefs, the Titans, the Packers, and the Cowboys, all with +1 in the turnover differential range. All right, here's your top 8. Here's the boys here, Benny. And 8 net points. Well, actually, 8, 7, 6, and 5 all had +10 net points. That's your Washington team, your Bills, Steelers, and Patriots. 4, you had your Saints. 3, the Seahawks. We got to talk about them Seahawks a little bit. Chiefs at 14, and then your Ravens at 32. And the thing about the Ravens, I watched that game. It was like they they weren't doing a whole lot, it seemed, in the first, in the beginning of the game. And then you looked up and it was like 17-6. It was like 28-6. And then it was just, all of a sudden the score just mounted. And it was like, what happened? You guys were hanging in there for a hot minute, and then it just all went south for them. Points for Panthers put up 30 points.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Teddy B, baby. I mean, might not have worked out, but 30 ain't bad, And what, rookie coach?
Yes, a rookie coach who made a terrible mistake by not getting the ball to his best player in a critical fourth down situation to keep a drive alive.
Yeah, that's we talked about that already. We already had that little piece. Seahawks and the Ravens both scored 38 points. And the Packers, number one, put up a hardcore 43. We already talked about arm talent with Mr. Rogers. I mean, wow, So, they might not have won by as big a margin as the Ravens. As a matter of fact, they gave up, they're not in the top 8. That's because the Vikings actually put up 34 points. So what's that, 9-point difference?
Yes.
So, that was somewhat of a shootout. They let Kirk Cousins have his way a bit. The Saints, the Raiders, and the Chiefs all put up 34 points. Seahawks and Ravens put up 38. So we know who could score 30 plus so far anyway. And you figured, this was the first game of the season with no preseason. So it's interesting to see that these teams were able to put up these kind of points. Points against. Washington gave up 17 in the first half of their game, and then that was it. Bills, Steelers, Patriots all gave up 16. Saints, 14. Seahawks, 13. Chiefs, 11. And Ravens, 6. And in terms of turnover differential, Bears at 8 plus 1. You have a group of 2 with the Ravens, Jaguars, Seahawks, Chargers, and Patriots all with plus 2. Patriots were number 1 in that area last year. That defense still looks like they got a little something to prove, coming in 5th overall. And then Washington and the Saints at plus 3. Saints coming in and Washington coming in. They could split number 1. They're tied at plus 3. So there you go. Tell me what you got about that first group there.
Well, something that's a little surprising, but when you look at the teams and the teams that they played, it's not that surprising. I believe with the lack of OTAs and without having preseason games, it was a little bit surprising in the fact that I would expect defenses to be a little farther ahead than most of the offenses. But when you look at those teams that scored 30-plus points, it's really not surprising. The amount of points that the Packers scored, I thought, was a little surprising, considering everybody's bemoaning the fact that they didn't go out and get any wide receiver weapons or any new wide receiver weapons for Aaron Rodgers. He made Davante Adams look like he was out there playing by himself. It's like, we're going to cover everybody else, and we're going to leave Davante open, and we're just going to let you throw the ball to him all day. This guy is such a great route runner, has such great hands, great feet on the sideline. It's unbelievable how good he is. And the arm talent of Aaron Rodgers that goes along with that was on full display on Sunday. It was a magnificent performance between those two, without a doubt.
What do you think about Kirk Cousins' performance?
I thought Kirk Cousins' performance was pretty good, considering they were behind the 8 ball for most of the game. When he's forced to throw the ball, that's not, exactly a good thing for them, but it's not like he can't do it. Also, Adam Thielen had a big game after being injured and being somewhat mediocre last year. And then they lose Stephon Diggs. People were starting to wonder, okay, can Thielen really carry this receiving core? and he proved that he could. I don't know that the Packers defense is like a juggernaut or anything, but they're no slouches as proved by the statistics there. But Kirk Cousins is going to be okay. He's going to be all right.
All righty. Ready to move into the Bias Plus reports?
Sure thing. Let's do it.
All righty. I believe this is the Monday or the Thursday night game. But we're going to kick the weekend off with the Bengals at the Browns with a Bias Plus score of 29 favoring the Bengals. What happened here, the Browns giving up minus 32, the Bengals giving up minus 3. So both teams net point-wise were in the negative, Bengals just being a lot less negative than the Browns. So this is a chance for the Browns to kind of, what's the word where you make yourself look a little bit better, redeem themselves a little bit. You got a rookie quarterback who didn't look bad. You said you were pretty impressed with Joe Burrow.
I was very impressed with Joe Burrow. Number one, this guy is the number one pick overall. Heisman Trophy winner. All the pressure in the world on this guy. Coming to a team that wasn't very good last year. Has all kinds of issues on defense. Pretty solid at running back on paper, but still didn't win many games. Top receiver just coming back from a big injury. Tons of pressure on this guy. He was cool as a cucumber. I'm telling you, I was very impressed with Joe Burrow. Very, very impressed.
Okay. That's interesting. He did look okay, but he gave him his own self, a D or something like that?
Well, that's fine. He should be hard on himself. That just goes to show. Let's face it, this guy pretty much had the season of all seasons last year in his senior year in college. He could do nothing wrong. Everything was perfect. Every game was almost perfect. His statistics were off the charts. He is used to winning, and he's used to winning big, and he's used to being dominant. So, and he's the quarterback. He's the face of the franchise and will be for years to come. So he's supposed to be hard on himself. He knows his leadership position on his team. He's not going to, throw anybody under the bus. This is his team, and he's going to take the credit. And when they don't do well, he's going to take the blame. And that's what he should do.
It's interesting because with both teams being in the negative, the Bengals actually have the second highest Bias Plus in their favor of the weekends at 29. So we'll follow up on that. All right, let's see who's up next here on the bias.
The bias is for the Bengals.
Yes,
I am also with the Bengals.
Oh, okay. That's right. I forgot to ask you your.
Yeah, you don't care about my opinion anymore?
I forgot to ask you your opinion. I'm so sorry there.
All right. It's all right.
Okay. So you know about the Bengals. How about your team? The Bears are favored with a Bias Plus score of 16 over the Giants. The Giants.
Well, sir, I'll tell you this. Like I said, I was impressed by Daniel Jones. I think if he doesn't have a breakout season this year, he will show marked improvement to what I expect, what I need. But unless that offensive line can get themselves together and break Saquon loose, they're going to be hard-pressed to win games completely leaning on Daniel Jones. That's a little bit too much for him. It's going to be tough. It's going to be extremely hard. But I think they'll be able to get it together so they'll have some semblance of a run game. Let's face it, Pittsburgh right now is expected to be at least a top 3 defense for the rest of the season. Some teams, some people think that they're probably the best team in the league at this point until they prove otherwise. So I'm not shocked that they were able to slow him down. Well, I'm not even going to say slow him down. They stuffed him. It was rough. But if they can get the run game going just a little bit, they can just make some holes so that he can go to work once he gets to the next level, they'll have a lot more success.
Okay. Next up, we have.
So the Bears have the bias.
Bears have the bias, and you're going
I'm
with?
going with the Giants.
Okay. Falcons at Cowboys. Bias plus score 13 favors the boys. Another two teams that didn't look good. We're talking net points for the Falcons, ranking 30th. The Cowboys ranking 19th. Falcons ranked 14th in scoring. Cowboys came up 23rd, but the Falcons ranked 30th in points against, and the Cowboys took the 19th place. So the Cowboys playing a little bit more defense, but we talked about this last week. I'm going to declare it again. I haven't had a chance to really calculate all the numbers, but let me just use that, not a four-letter word, but just as scary. Injuries. Cowboys have lost their linebacker again. They seem to have a hard time with linebackers. Van Esch, I believe his name is.
Vander Esch.
And then the guy that he was replacing.
Oh, jeez. Sean?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sean Lee. So, I mean, these guys are all, they don't seem to be able to stay on the field. Cowboys last year, I felt their defense let them down more so than what they could blame Dak. However, this year it's going to be one of those seasons where we're just going to see that happen a lot. Cowboys favored by bias plus of 13. What do you got?
Well, sir, let's see. The Cowboys are at home. Their secondary did not look good the other day. The Falcons do have a high-powered offense. The Falcons also, if I remember correctly, although the Seahawks kind of had their way with them, the Seahawks went to the air quite a bit. Russell Wilson had a great day throwing the ball. Chris Carson did not have a great day running the ball, yardage-wise. He did catch some passes, though. In fact, he scored 2 touchdowns, both on pass receptions. One was play action. He came out of the backfield, caught one, and I think they set up a screen for one. So that being said, I'm going to go with the strong passing offense against the weak secondary of the Cowboys, and I am going to go with the Falcons.
Really now?
Yes.
I'm a little surprised, but I see you stepping out. You stepping out on the funk there, buddy. I see you.
What? Every time I go against the bias, you're like, what?
What? All right, here we go. Next up, another NFC Central matchup. Lions at Packers. They have to go into Packer Stadium with no fans. What do you think about the whole no fan thing? How did you see that impacting anything?
As far as viewing on television, I have no problem with it. Just like I said last week, I thought they would pipe in crowd noises, which is exactly what each team did. So it kind of gives you the feel that a crowd is there. Once they, pan out and take a wider view of the stadium and you see the empty seats, it looks a little weird, almost like they're having practice or a scrimmage or something. But it didn't seem to bother the players, didn't bother me a bit. And when the cameras are focused on the players and what's going on in the field, the piped-in crowd noise kind of gives you the same feel and all. So I don't. It's no big deal to me.
Okay. I think I can hear. It sounds a little hollow to me sometimes, just in the sound effects, and it sounds the same way with basketball. So, but other than that, once these guys start playing, they're playing. It is, the fans or no fans, they're out there. They're out there getting it in. So I'm proud of them, and I'm glad that they're able to focus like that. All right, bias plus score 15. Favorite the Packers.
I am definitely, without a doubt, going with the Packers on this one.
and who was it? The Lions are boy from Philadelphia.
Oh,
got a lot of flack for that drop touchdown, man.
Let me just say, he catches that ball, and the Lions win that game. And I feel bad for him. Obviously, I know he's feeling terrible about it. They said that he felt terrible about it. His teammates were trying to prop him up a little bit. I feel bad for Matthew Stafford, who threw a pretty nice pass, hit both hands pretty nice. He really has no excuse for dropping that ball. But that's a shame because I thought that the Lions earned the victory there and unfortunately came away with the L. So that's tough. That's football, man.
Oh, yeah. Not like a drop pass in front of everybody. Vikings at Colts. All right. Now, I got my two favorite whipping boy quarterbacks playing each other. Kirk Cousins and Phillip, I told you to watch out for that guy Rivers.
Stop, man, stop.
2 interceptions. He's supposed to be the veteran there that's keeping this thing afloat and moving it forward. I'm telling you, he probably needs that same vision corrective surgery that Jameis had. He needs to call Jameis's doctor and see if he can get hold of that. But this is going to be a close one based on the bias. It's only 3. Let me see here. There's one other game with a bias plus of 3, and there's nothing smaller than that. So there's a couple close ones here. And it favors the Colts. And I guess the reason that it's favoring the Colts is I'm looking here. Well, bottom line is the Colts were less bad. The Vikings wound up with -9 net points, Colts -7. So that plus a turnover differential that favored the Colts because the Lions were -1 and the Colts were 0. So bias plus score of 3 favors the Colts. Which one of my whipping boys are you going with?
I'm going with your original whipping boy, and that would be Kirk Cousins. I don't want to focus too much on Phillip Rivers because I don't hate him like you do. I shouldn't say hate. I don't
hate anybody. I just call it as I see it.
I understand, but I like Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
I appreciate the many, many years of joy I've seen watching Phillip Rivers play and have success. But let's face it, the guy's like 67 years old and his arm is hanging halfway off. So anything good that he does, I think is wonderful. But even at home, again, home field advantage isn't as much of an advantage now since there's no crowds. But there's still an advantage because you are home, you get to sleep in your own bed, you get to eat your own food, and all the other things that come along with home field advantage. You don't have to travel, blah, blah, blah. I just feel like the Vikings have a more balanced offense and their defense is good enough to stop Phillip Rivers. I'm a little surprised that Austin Eckler didn't do better in the first game. I expect him to do better in this game, but I'm still going with the Vikings.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm looking down here in terms of points against. They both gave up 27 points. Of course, the Vikings gave it up to
the Packers, and the Colts gave it up to Mr. Minshew.
Yeah. Okay. Quality loss.
There you go. It's a quality loss against a less quality loss.
Well, here you go. This is one again. AFC East battle. Both the Dolphins have already taken their little beating from from the Patriots. Now they got to go in with the team that many people are favoring in that division and see if they can get it together. The Dolphins, again, points against coming in at 25th, which is also where they were in terms of net points. In terms of net points, your Bills came in 7th. So the Bills obviously are playing a lot better ball. It looks as if they're going to continue to go with Fitzmagic. The Dolphins are for this next game. So they're not going with Tua as of yet. So Bias Plus score 22 favors the Bills. What do you got?
The Dolphins have no chance in this game whatsoever. The Bills will win this game and win easy. I found it interesting that the head coach on Wednesday, or maybe even announced it on Tuesday, that Fitzpatrick would be the starter this week coming up. Evidently, the media was questioning him. And even if they didn't, he felt it necessary to name Fitzpatrick as the starter. Leads me to believe that his leash is getting shorter and Tua will be in and starting within the next couple of weeks or after the next couple losses or whatever comes first. I don't know. That just, to me, that's sounding an alarm that we're getting Tua ready.
Warm it up, Tua. Warm it up. Who are you going with, Benny? Oh, you said the Bills, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm going with the Bills. Yeah. No
right.
big deal on this one.
This is going to be sort of interesting. The 49ers at the Jets. The 49ers just signed Mohamed Sanu. We're still looking for receivers. We've got some issues on defense. Sherman is out. So that's going to be an interesting scenario.
Was he injured in the game on Sunday?
Yeah, he was there.
No, I said, was he injured in the game on Sunday?
Yeah. I think
okay.
Yeah, hammy or something like that.
Okay.
So the Bias Plus is only 7. It favors the Niners. Again, two teams that were net point negative, Niners being slightly less net point negative than the Jets. And the Jets coming in at 27th in points against. The Niners came in at 20th. So here you go. Niners at Jets. So wait, is that the West Coast to East Coast 1 o'clock game?
I don't know if it's a 1 o'clock game, but if it is, that might not be good for you.
It's a 1 o'clock game.
It is a 1 o'clock game?
Yeah, we're still going through the 1 o'clock games. We got
that won't be good for you.
Or some more.
That won't be good for you. I mean, boy, oh boy, oh boy. I tell you what, the Jets are still not ready for prime time. The 49ers will win this game. I'm going to go with the 49ers, going with the bias. Their defense is going to be a little bit too much for the Jets. Even though they may be having issues on defense, I think a lot of that will be cured playing the Jets. Offensively, this is interesting. So, and it's funny because I kind of watch the Niners because it's your team and I kind of pay attention to them a little bit. And I really like Deebo Samuel, who's still injured and may not be able to play for another couple of weeks. But he's a very important part of their offense. I also was a little intrigued about Kendrick Bourne, who had a couple of decent games last year and showed some promise. I was glad that they got rid of Marquise Goodwin. I'm very critical about your team, obviously, you could tell. Dante Pettis is a waste of time, okay? However, Shanahan's run game philosophy is beginning to come into fruition now that Jerick McKinnon is healthy. Jerick McKinnon showed a lot of promise. Even all the time that he missed, he showed that he's healthy now and he can still go. Mostert obviously the bell cow, the number one guy. I think Tevin Coleman played, but he might have only had like 2 carries. He had very few snaps. He's got an issue with sickle cell, I believe. So there was something going on there with the weather and all. But once they get that 3-headed monster really going, even if it's a 2.5-headed monster, that's going to prove to be a big deal for their offense, because right now, and Kittle's dinged up. Hence, they bring in Mohamed Sanu, who, as far as I'm concerned, is washed up. But he's
I was waiting to get that valuation.
Yeah, I mean, look, we both have our issues with your team's passing game and their receiver core. I know you love speed. They have none. They had a little bit and a bit of a playmaker in Emmanuel Sanders. He's now gone. So, yeah, you got issues. But Mohamed Sanu is only there because he's familiar with Shanahan's offense, which is, I mean, it's not a big deal, but it does mean something. No. I just don't think you're going to get much out of the guy. So it's important that you get your running game going. So, and I expect to see that come Sunday.
Jordan, the tight end.
Yeah, Jordan Reed. Now,
go ahead.
Jordan Reed played for Washington for many, many years. Jordan Reed was a highly touted tight end for many, many years, but could never finish a season because of concussion issues. Concussion issues are very serious. He has had multiple concussions, most of which kept him out for weeks at a time. He couldn't pass the protocol. And the last one last year kept him out for the majority of the season. But as long as he could keep himself from getting knocked out, he should be able to put up some numbers for you. He's not Kittle, but the guy's got skills. So you're going to have to lean on him, considering that you're waiting for Debo to come back. And, you know, I still think you're going to get a little something out of Kendrick Bourne. But, yeah, you're going to need Jordan Reed, and you're going to need to get your running game going.
We are not stretching the field vertically, but we can still stretch the field horizontally. I'm hoping that he can come in and provide some Kittle style in the middle catches and things of that nature to kind of keep them obvious. We still have Juszczyk, who also can catch the ball, and Mostert, who's one of the fastest guys on the field now. You know, you can do a lot with him. But, yeah, he doesn't seem to value speed in the way that I value speed. As a matter of fact, I didn't really like the way he used Kittle because, again, he's got Kittle marred to the line and doing a lot of blocking. Kittle is the only one who can command a double team. So if you can command a double team, that means you can control their personnel. You can move that guy around and you can create one-on-ones and you can create situations like that. They didn't do that.
Very true. Very, very true.
Kittle had 4 catches at the 9-minute and 36-second point of the fourth quarter. Excuse me, 4 catches. Did I say 9? 4 catches.
4 catches.
4 catches with 9 minutes left in the game. So they really missed out there. In terms of Jerick McKinnon, I'm glad he's back. I see what you're talking about in terms of quickness and things like that. But Tevin Coleman is the power back now. And if you're down close to the goal line and you want to run a power game, he can get it done. I believe he has the agility, the power. He's one of the bigger backs there. And once you put him in that backfield, you command, again, that they're going to have to play that. You don't always have to be cute. Sometimes you got to get up there and you just got to bang those boys. We had the one play, it was 4th down on the Cardinals. We had Mostert back there. You know, again, he couldn't get it over the line, and they wound up at 4th down, giving it back to the Cardinals. I felt, between Juszczyk and Tevin, if you want to play a power game, those are your 2 power backs. They can actually move the pile a little bit. So We'll have to see how that all works out. I wasn't totally happy with the use of the personnel, but overall, I felt like we played a pretty good game because I have a lot of respect for the Cardinals and what they're able to do in that air raid offense. It was a hurry up tempo situation. DeAndre Hopkins, they were giving him plenty of room. He was taking full advantage of it, catching everything. And that's what they do in the air raid. Was it called green grass, right? You're going to give it to me, I'm going to take it.
Right.
And they did that all day. All right. So let's see who we got next here. Yeah, this is fun. This is what I like, man. Uh-oh. Rams at Eagles. Maybe we can catch the plane with the Rams, save a few dollars, man, coming east to the East Coast. The Niners and the Rams. Rams at Eagles. Huh?
You guys could share a plane. That might work out.
That's what I'm saying, a 1 o'clock game. Again, same situation. Bias plus score of 16 favors the Rams. Oh, okay. They had a problem with Chase. Now they got to deal with the Rams nose guard.
Aaron Donald.
I don't know if you had a chance to go on our Instagram account, but they have video of Aaron Donald running through like 4 people, and he's literally just pushing 2 grown men aside at a time.
He knocked 2 of them completely off their feet.
My caption on that was Barry when they call him for dinner.
Get out of my way.
Get out of my way. So last week it was Chase on Wentz. This week it's going to be Aaron Donald on Wentz. Bias plus score of 16 favors the Rams. Who you got?
I'll tell you this right now. I'm going with the Rams, going with the bias, and this one could get ugly. The Eagles are lucky that they're at home in this one. Hopefully, that will mean a little something for them. But the Eagles are one of those teams, they really, really kind of feed off their fans. Excuse me. Some teams, home field has a lot of things to go with it, which I mentioned earlier besides the fans. But some teams really, really have strong reactions with their fans, like the Chiefs, like the Seahawks with the 12th man. And the Philadelphia fans are rabid fans. The players know what kind of fan base they have, and they really feed off them. Well, they're not going to be there for the team to feed off them. And the type of problems that they have on their offensive line are similar to what the Giants have, but I think it's a tad bit worse. Jason Peters, for all the madness that he put people through when he tried to go to another team and nobody would have him, he came back here and reluctantly agreed to play guard. Then when the guy they wanted to start at left tackle got hurt, they asked him to move back to his regular spot, the spot where he will probably be inducted into the Hall of Fame for playing for the majority of all of his career. And then he demanded more money. Now, some folks figure, well, he settled for this amount of money to play guard, so now you want him to go back to left tackle. Everybody knows left tackles make more money than guards, so why wouldn't you give him more money? If the Eagles don't take him back, he's not playing right now. So, I mean, I'm not a professional football player. I'm not exactly sure how I would feel. I'm not exactly sure if this is him or his agent talking, but that kind of put a sour taste in some of the Eagle fans' mouth. But all that aside, Kelsey was slightly dinged. And Peters is really a shell of himself. This one could get ugly. This could be another at least 3-sack, 1 interception game. Could be worse. Sorry, Eagles fans.
So going with the bias on this one, eh? All righty. I'm thinking between Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, the Eagles were -3 in turnover differential against the Washington team. They could be another -3 in turnover differential after playing the Rams. We'll see how that works out. All right. Broncos at Steelers. Bias plus score of 14 favors the Steelers. Broncos got that second-year quarterback, no Von Miller. We said that the Titans running back would be heading over in that direction where Von Miller used to be. He did that a little bit last week. Bias plus score, Broncos at Steelers. Again, West Coast team traveling to the East Coast. That is also a 1 o'clock game favoring the Steelers by a bias plus of 14.
I got to go with the Steelers here at home. Took a little while versus my Giants to get themselves going. I think they'll probably understand that they don't want to get off to a slow start this year. They have a lot of promise. Big Ben is back. Juju didn't have a great game, but they do have weapons. I'm expecting Connor to be back. I don't think his ankle injury is very severe. And the Broncos are just not going to be able to handle the Steeler defense. On the other hand, the Broncos defense without Von Miller will be hard pressed to put the kind of pressure on Big Ben that's going to make him, have to throw the ball under duress. And Benny Snell, who filled in a running back very admirably for Connor, even though the Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin said that he prefers the one-back system and using his bell cow for the majority of the game, and normally would only put Benny Snell in for a play here or there, or maybe a goal line touch, or to throw the ball to him on third down. He now knows that he has two really good backs. I expect the timeshare there to change a little bit and for Benny Snell to start getting more carries. And if, in fact, Connor's not close enough to 100%, and we'll know that probably come Thursday or Friday when the designations come out as far as questionable or doubtful or ready to play, I think they feel pretty good that Benny Snell can get the job done. There's no need to rush Connor back. Big Ben looked pretty good. I like the Steelers. The Broncos are not going to have enough of them. They got their own woes. Their best receiver, Courtland Sutton, has been out with an injury. Jerry Jeudy showed some promise. He caught one pass and was juking and running all over the field, so he showed the kind of talent that he has, but he's still a rookie. He's still got route running issues, and he's still got continuity issues between himself and Drew Lock. So he's kind of a work in progress. I'll tell you the guy who the Broncos are going to have to really depend on, and that's Noah Fant, the tight end, who looks like he's in mid-season form. This guy was all over the field, catching all kinds of balls and making DBs and linebackers look silly. So I'm expecting a big year from him. If you don't have him in fantasy, you better grab him.
Well, you've got the Broncos at 29th in terms of offense going against the Steelers defense, who ranked at 6. And Philip Lindsay, I believe, is injured. He's dinged up. I don't know if he's going to
That's
play.
not going to help. That means they're going to have to really lean on Melvin Gordon. And Melvin Gordon still has some fumbling issues. And the Steeler linebackers can really hit. This one could get ugly. It could be competitive, but it could get ugly.
All righty, here we go. Next up, we have Panthers at Buccaneers. So we got Teddy B versus Tommy. TB versus TB. Bias plus score of 10 favors the Panthers Teddy.
He's a favorite.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is what happened. Again, both teams are in the negative in terms of net points. The Panthers were simply less negative at -4 versus the Buccaneers -11. In terms of scoring, the Panthers were 8th. Buccaneers were 17th. Defensively, they were 22nd. Buccaneers were 29th. So the Buccaneers they got some things they got to work on. I'm sure that pick six didn't help their net points on the Buccaneers, and if Brady can eliminate that. But it's funny because people actually are starting to look at the coach for the Buccaneers, and they're saying that his play calling is facilitating turnovers, like calling these long outs from the opposite side of the field that wound up with Jackrabbit running it back for 6, as just somewhat being tactically misinformed. And you have to think about it. It kind of reminds me of what they're saying now about the Clippers coaching staff, because I think their head coach now this is his 3rd time that he's been up 3 games and lost the series.
I don't want to get too far in the NBA, but Doc Rivers, come on, baby. I'll tell you the truth. I'm not going to blame him. I think they just got outplayed. I think the Nuggets just wanted it more than them. Those guys dug deep, man. They played real good basketball, and the Clippers seemed like they were just waiting for Kawhi or what's his face to take over, and neither one of them were able to do it. And basketball teams fall into that sometimes. And then, maybe a Steph Curry or this guy or that guy or even a Kawhi will take over the game, and everybody go, oh, yeah, Clippers are great. But if they're not able to, if they have a bad game or they get defensed up, you have nobody to blame but yourself because you didn't play a team game. So, I mean, that's the same thing. Now, if you want to look at Bruce Arians and his play calling, let's face it, everybody knows his saying is no risk it, no biscuit. That's the kind of coach that he is. It's not necessarily the kind of coach, the kind of quarterback that Tom Brady is. However, I think Brady's skills tend to be enough where he can carry this out. He's not going to be throwing a lot of bombs, but he's going to be going downfield a lot more than he's used to, especially in his last couple of years with the Patriots. So that's kind of new to him. He is Tom Brady, however. So we expect him to be able to do it. Again, no preseason, no OTAs. Some of these guys just got to kind of get in the rhythm. I expect the Buccaneers to get better. Their problem is going to be their defense. That's what I see. Their problem is going to be their defense. And I tell you what, instead of going with Tom B, I'm going with Teddy B this week. I'm going to pick the Panthers to go down to Tampa and beat the Buccaneers. And their Buccaneers are going to be 0-2, and everybody's going to either blame Brady or they're going to blame Arians, and it's going to be fun to watch and listen to because it's going to be a mess down there, and everybody's going to be, oh, my God, what are we going to do? I thought the Buccaneers were going to the Super Bowl. Oh, woe is me. Panthers, I'm taking them.
When we look back, I think we talked a little bit about Brady, and I said and this was from Madden, he could be sacked. So number one, his mobility is a bit of an issue in the back of that Buccaneer offensive line. So I think that's one issue. And when you talk about going deep, you need protection or you need mobility. You need one or the other.
You need one or the other, and I know they know that he's only so mobile, if mobile at all. He used to be pretty nimble in the pocket. He used to kind of be who's the quarterback I'm thinking of that wasn't really a run, like a Dan Marino. Like you knew he couldn't run, you knew he didn't want to run, you knew he was going to try his best not to run, but somehow he could shake tacklers off or sidestep or twist or whatever and still get passes off. Let's give the Saints front line some credit here. Them boys were coming.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, they were coming.
I don't Jordan and the boys.
Yeah, I don't think the Panthers are going to be able to dial up that kind of a pass rush, so it won't be as bad. But this game could be a shootout, and I'm going to take Teddy Bridgewater to win this thing. Between him and McCaffrey, they're going to win this thing. DJ Moore hasn't gotten off yet, but he will. And when he does, and their offense becomes a little bit more balanced, I think that the Panthers are going to be okay, at least offensively. Now, I'm not going to say their defense is nothing to write home about, obviously, but they got enough to win this game. I think they pull the upset. It'll be an upset, but I think they pull the upset, even though the bias is with them.
All right, going with the bias and calling it an upset. I don't know.
Well, again, it's the beginning of the season, so I'm going to use working off of last year's stats in the beginning as my excuse. And so, you know what I mean? I like them. I'm
All
going
right.
with
All right. Jaguars at Titans. It's tightening up here with a bias plus score of only 6, favoring the Minshew Magic Jaguars. Now, wait. Last week, we were joking about the Jaguars tanking for Trevor. That was what we talked about. And they literally talked about tanking this past weekend after the games. And they're like, we're not tanking. I think they're trying to do like the Dolphins did last year when people thought they were tanking for Tua. And they're like, nah, it ain't going down like that. So Minshew is providing them some leadership. But he also is not really throwing downfield too far. He has one of the shortest average passing distances in the league. But he's getting the ball out of his hands fast. He's distributing it, and he's letting his players, do what they can after they catch the ball. So you can't be mad at him. However, the Titans, man, I mean, come on, really? I mean, I know, Titans coming in 16th with a net points of +2. Jaguars came in 10th with +7. The Jaguars were ranked 10th in points against, and the Titans came in at 16. So it's going to be close. It'll be interesting to see if the Jaguars can handle the Titans' run game.
I don't think they'll be able to. I think Derrick Henry is going to not necessarily have a field day, but I think he'll get 100 yards. He'll probably carry the ball 18 to 20 times. He'll get 100 yards. The difference in this one will be Phillip Rivers is not the quarterback. It's Ryan Tannehill. And Ryan Tannehill had a big game last week, and he will have another big game this week. Ryan Tannehill has had the biggest turnaround we've seen in one player in quite a long time. I'm telling you, this guy, people thought last year was a miracle between Ryan Tannehill of the Miami Dolphins and what happened to him once he got to the Titans. It's not a miracle. I don't know if it's the coach, the play calling, just the change of scenery, his team. I don't know what it is, but it's bringing out the best in Ryan Tannehill. And these are things that we did not see from him early in his career that he's doing. He's throwing the ball extremely well, and they're putting the ball in his hands to pass downfield quite often. They're very confident in him, and he is repaying them with really good play. And that's going to be the difference in the game, and that's why I'm going to go against the bias and go with the Titans.
Going with the Titans, eh? I mean, I could kind of see that. I could see that. Again, if you're looking at it from continuity standpoint, they've got that in their favor. And, Derrick Henry's probably just getting warmed up. So it'll be interesting. Okay, there you go. Next up, the Washington team at the Cardinals. Now they're going back in the other direction, and that is a 4:00 game. Bias plus score of 10 favors Washington. And, considering the Cardinals played the Niners and Washington played the Eagles, when you talk about quality wins, I would give the edge to the Cardinals in this particular situation. But Washington had a chance to go back and look at the tapes to see what's going on, to watch how quick the quarterback is for the Cardinals and what he can do. And you got Chase Young there, and you got a pretty active Washington defense. So I am interested to see if the Cardinals can hold up against that Washington defense with little Kyler Murray scooting around if he needs to. I got to give it to him. That's one sliding guy. He doesn't take hits for sure. He knows his quickness and speed relative to the players around him. He knows when to get down, get out of bounds, and avoid those hits. So we'll see how successful he is with that. But the bias plus score of 10 favors Washington. Who you got?
I'm definitely going with the Cardinals on this one. First of all, I love Chase Young. I love what he did last week. Again, number 2 overall pick, a lot of pressure on him. He's trying to take a defense that wasn't very good and elevate them, at least as far as pass rushing is concerned. He was able to do that last week against the Eagles. This week, he's rushing Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray. I almost had a little brain fart there. That's a lot different from Chase and Wentz. Kyler Murray can actually escape, and that's going to be a problem for Washington's defense. Also, Kenyon Drake had about 15, 16 carries. He had about 60-some yards. That's going to be big also. Kyler Murray and Nuke Hopkins are just scratching the surface. They're going to be really, really good together. I don't know what kind of game Fitzgerald had. I wasn't able to watch the entire game. I know Christian Kirk had a couple of nice catches. I think that the Cardinals' offense is becoming very nicely balanced. I like what the Cardinals have done. Again, I'm speaking offensively as far as bringing in talent, being very selective about the type of players that they bring in and build around Kyler Murray. First getting Kenyon Drake, that was a big pickup that paid dividends for them last year right away. Like the first game he played, he exploded. And then working this deal for Hopkins, which was amazing. There was a bunch of teams out there that could have used him and had the money, and somehow the Cardinals got him away from everybody. That's going to pay big dividends for them later on this season, and it may even start this week. Yeah, Washington's going to have their hands full. As impressive as they were last week, they will be much less this week, and the Cardinals will come away with the victory. Who has the bias? Does Washington have the bias?
Yeah.
I figured that. Right. Okay. They had the bias.
Bias plus of 10.
But right. And let's face it, that was a great win last week against a division rival, a team that usually smacks them around. So they're going to go into Arizona feeling real good about themselves, and they'll probably put up a little fight. But Kyler Murray and the boys are going to be a little bit too much for them. Yeah, I like the Cardinals.
Fitzgerald, you mentioned him. You said you weren't sure what he did. He had a few impactful plays. One of the more impactful plays was right near the end, I believe, of the first half, where he caught a ball out toward the left hash mark, picked the ball up, ran right back to the line of scrimmage so that they could place the ball, and gave Kyler Murray an opportunity to spike the ball and stop the clock with like 2 seconds left on the clock.
So like you.
There's some football IQ. I saw a few times where they had some IQ savvy type plays on the Cardinals side of the line of scrimmage. So yeah, they have a young quarterback, but he's smart. He knows the system, and now they've surrounded him with smart people, like you said, Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake is a problem. You know, when the Niners needed to stop them in order to even get the ball back so that they could, use their timeouts. On first down, he got 9 yards. You needed to stop. You can't give him 9 yards on the first down, and I'm talking, they weren't easy yards. He's twisting and turning and moving and doing all of that. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting coming awakening process for Washington. They are favored. You're going with the Cardinals, however.
Yes, I am.
All righty now. I got to get that one to you. Okay, what's up next? Well, this particular game, Benny, is we're going to see whether the Ravens are going to do the same thing that the Chiefs did. A lot of people people are now starting to look at the Ravens as a Super Bowl contender. The Texans have some issues, and the Ravens have a bias plus score in their favor of 48. Again, they rang it up on the Browns, which put them in favor, where you had the Texans trying to deal with the Chiefs, winding up with a minus 14 net points versus the Ravens plus 32 in their first place in net points. So you got a Ravens bias plus favorite here. What about you?
I got to go with that bias. I definitely have to go with that bias. There's going to be probably no weeks where I go against the Ravens or the Chiefs. Their offenses are just far too dynamic for most other teams in the NFL. Lamar Jackson completely destroyed. Who'd they play last week?
Browns.
The Browns, yeah. Okay, people are going to go, oh, the Browns stink again. Oh, they're terrible. Lamar Jackson had a field day throwing the ball against them. I don't know if you got his numbers there, but when I glanced at them, my eyes popped. Like, he didn't throw for a lot of yards, but he basically picked their defense apart with accuracy. It was a thing of beauty. Marquise Brown did his thing with the long ball. Mark Andrews, the tight end, who, as far as I'm concerned, Kittle and Kelsey, this guy, if they're 1 and 1A, this guy is 1B. Like, he's a serious threat at the tight end position, can block and catch, but runs really good routes. And he's a big guy with soft hands. He's a problem, especially in the red zone. But I've seen him take teams up the seam, and I've seen him go across the middle. This guy's a problem, man. They have way too much firepower. I don't know that their defense is as good maybe as it's been in the past, but it's good enough. And when you have an offense like they have, they can pretty much march up and down the field, maybe not as much of a quick strike offense as the Chiefs are, but a ball control offense. The rookie, J.K. Dobbins, got the goal line carries, okay, instead of Mark Ingram. I mean, they're really on to something, man. Again, last year, I gave a whole bunch of kudos to John Harbaugh for completely throwing out his offense and retooling it to fit Lamar Jackson. And, if they could have figured out a way to stop Derrick Henry, maybe they go to the Super Bowl, or maybe they play the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. Here we go again this year. They're head and shoulders, along with the Chiefs, they're head and shoulders above all the other AFC teams as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to speak about the NFC right now. We'll see as the season goes on who the real competitors for the Super Bowl on the NFC side, who they are. But right now, it's going to be real hard. It's not going to be real hard. I'm not going to say it's going to be real hard not to pick the Ravens to win every week. I'm going to say it's going to be easy to pick the Ravens to win every week.
Lamar Jackson, 20 for 25.
Oh, gee.
275 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, sacked twice for 14 yards, had a QBR of 94.1.
That's what I'm talking about.
Mayfield has a QBR of 33.3, just for reference, you know.
Lamar Jackson, he's got accuracy issues. He runs too much. He should switch to receiver.
Or as he said last year, not bad for a running back.
Exactly.
Speaking of not bad for a running back, Chiefs Chargers. Bias plus score 10 favors the Chiefs. Editorial comment. After I started posting all of this stuff and writing out, thinking to myself, last week we talked about whether or not we were even going to use the Chiefs or call Kansas City the Kansas City team that needs to change their name. We were a little lukewarm on the whole concept. And so I hadn't made a decision on that yet, but I will by next week. I'm going to do a little more research and see if I can determine whether or not that's something that we need to also make a social stand on. However, in terms of making a stand, the bias plus of 10 favors the Chiefs. I wouldn't argue too much with this one. What do you got?
Nah, there's no argument here. I'm going to go with the Chiefs, as I just stated. I will probably go with the Chiefs every week, and I will probably go with the Ravens every week. I liked the way the Chargers played last week. I thought Tyrod Taylor did pretty well, but he's Tyrod Taylor. He's really just keeping the seat warm for the Herbert kid. Who knows? We might see Tua and Herbert somewhere around the same time next season taking over. But as long as Tyrod plays well, win, lose, or draw, they'll probably leave him in there. Austin Eckler did not have a great game last week. I expect him to do better. I think the Chargers defense is a little bit better than people suspected, but they won't have enough. They won't have enough for Kansas City. They just won't. I wish I could be more articulate about this, but it's too much firepower over there. Too much Andy Reid play calling. And Andy's become, he used to be, when he was in Philadelphia, people complained about his game time clock management and things like that. And I'm not going to say that he doesn't still have those issues, not as badly, because obviously he has more talent, so that kind of cures a lot of things. But Andy Reid is becoming quite the play caller. This guy's got teams on their heels, and he keeps them on their heels.
You giving that credit to Andy or Bieniemy?
Oh, well, wow. You got me. You got me, man. Let me go back. I'm gonna split the credit, but I'm gonna say this. If Eric Bieniemy is actually calling the plays and not just giving them to the quarterback in the headset, then I have to tilt some more of that credit toward him. But I understand that this is Andy's team and this is Andy's offense. I don't even know if he knows the guys on defense's names. Andy is this version of the beloved West Coast offense. He's got this thing cooking right now. And I think Bieniemy is right there with him. He knows what Andy likes. He knows what Andy wants, and he's making it work. So I'm going to give them equal credit right now. The only reason I'm leaning toward Andy is because I know this is his baby, and I see him with the chart up to his mouth like this a lot, which means to me that he's whispering in somebody's ear.
funny enough, the Cardinals, I think, took a page out of Kansas City's playbook when they played my Niners. There was a play where they were down on the goal line, and you heard the commentator because they ran something that looked like the wishbone option. And the commentator said, uh-oh, the heck with the air raid.
Wow, they got wishbone.
Yeah, I mean, and remember in I call the Temptations play that the Chiefs ran against.
Oh, when they did the whip around.
When they did all the spin, yeah. So you get up there and you bunch people up, and then people start moving around and all of that. Next thing you know, he's taking off in one direction or the other. And, so I thought they took a little bit of a page, try to confuse, my team once they got down on the goal line, and they were effective. It worked again. Yes, it did. Yes, it worked again. All right. I'm tired of talking about that. My darn self here. This is going to be an interesting game. And it's one of the two smallest bias plus scores of the weekend. The other was the 3 points between the Vikings and the Colts. Now we have a 3 bias plus score favoring the Seahawks. Patriots going out west. And let's face it, Cam had a good game. He got to run around a little bit. One of the things that came out of some of this conversation, they were talking about Cam and the running and whether or not he could throw from the box. And a stat came out. They said it was plus 92% of his passes. Cam's passes were inside the box from the pocket. That number was actually about the same as Brady's. I was surprised to hear that. So Cam can throw from the pocket, and as they move into the second game and through the first quarter of the season, as we'll watch teams begin to sort of mature within their offenses, it's going to be interesting to see if Cam morphs into more of that. Because I don't think he wants to do too much of that running out there with the Seahawks. The safety that the Seahawks picked up from the Jets, what's his name?
Jamal Adams.
Jamal would love.
Dude, he was all over the field. I'm talking to somebody, and they're like, where did that guy that played for the Jets go to safety? I said, Jamal Adams? He's like, yeah. I said, he went to the Seahawks. The perfect team for him to go to. And he goes, that guy's overrated. I was like, okay. He only does, like, everything.
Everything.
Except for cover wideouts. And he can kind of do that too, okay? This guy blitzes. This guy stops the run. He plays in the box. He tackles. He hits. He plays tight ends. He covers running backs out of the backfield. What else do you want from this dude? He was all over the field on Sunday. That guy's amazing. I love him. He's earning every penny that he's getting paid. This will be a good – oh, I'm sorry. Were you through? Because I want to – I don't know. Were you done?
In terms of saying something about this particular game?
Well, yeah, you were talking about the game, and then you kind of went off to Jamal Adams, and then I picked up. But I didn't know if you were done talking about the game.
Well, no, you go ahead, because bottom line is it's a bias of what, 3?
Okay.
The Seahawks. So go ahead. What do you got?
Okay, so this bias kind of matches up with the actual matchup, regardless of the fact that we're still early in the season. I think the Patriots are still going to be a good team. I think their defense, even though they had some injuries and a couple of opt-outs, they're still a pretty good defense. They're better than pretty good, actually. They're a well-run, very disciplined defense. Cam Newton has proven to me that he's back. The fact that he's able to be successful out of the pocket does not surprise me. I think that they've made it paramount to him that he not take off running as quickly as he would have in the past. I think that's when he gets into trouble. I think they're going to be very smart about the design runs that they call for him, especially when they get inside like the 10-yard line. When they're deep in the red zone, that's when he really becomes a running factor. Because of his size, you can't stop him basically with one guy unless you actually form tackle this guy. He's going to either run you over or he's going to slip by you, and then he's long, so he's going to dive into the end zone. So he's going to get a lot of rushing touchdowns once they get, deep in the team's red zones. But throwing from the pocket, I think, is going to be a priority for him. It's a priority for Josh McDaniels, who calls the offensive plays for the Patriots. And so far, I think they look pretty good at it. I think it's going to work out well for them. Unfortunately, they're playing the Seahawks. And I don't talk too much about the East Coast trip to the West Coast, but the longest trip in the NFL is an East Coast team going to Seattle, Washington.
What is it? That's the longest?
Yes, that's actually a longer trip than from Philly to LA. So from New England, from Boston to Seattle, Washington, that's a pretty good trip. I don't know what time that game is, but that doesn't matter. I shouldn't even brought that up. Let me tell you this.
No, hold on.
Okay.
It's the Sunday night game.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's throw that out. Let's throw out the trip because they should be able to get in town early enough for everybody to get their legs back and all that stuff and be prepared for the night game. So that's not that big a deal. I just thought I'd throw that tidbit out there because I just happen to know that Seattle's pretty far away as far as between NFL cities. However, early in the season, Pete Carroll kind of threw out some hints that 2020 was going to be the season where they opened up the offense, where they really took advantage of everything that Russell Wilson can do. They've got the wideouts. Tyler Lockett is really just coming into his own since Baldwin, I think Baldwin retired. Metcalf. Man, did you see that touchdown he had up the sideline?
Yeah.
The long one is about a 40-yard run.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That guy is something else. And Chris Carson, even though they kind of took it easy on him and they gave a couple of carries to Carlos Hyde, okay, who I thought he was just going to come in there as a backup in case, Carson was to go down or whatever. But they obviously, because he had some hip surgery in the offseason, they kind of kept his numbers down a little bit and gave Carlos Hyde a decent number of carries. But Chris Carson looks good. He looks healthy. Their run game is healthy. Their O-line is healthy. And if you got numbers on Russell Wilson, I believe he had quite the quarterback rating after that game also. He was stellar. Their offense looks good. And they're going to need that because their defense does have some issues. They do have some issues. But as long as they have Jamal Adams to make a big play on defense here and there, and as long as they can ball control and really beat down teams' defenses with that offense full of playmakers and big-time blockers up front, the Seahawks are going to be a handful. They're going to be a handful for anybody. So I got to go with them. I know it's with the bias, so I'm not calling any upset here, but that bias number is small. The Patriots had best come in with a really good ball control game plan. Their best bet is to try to slow this game down and grind it out and keep Russell Wilson off the field, because if they don't, this one could get ugly too.
Russell Wilson, 31 for 35.
Oh, come on.
That's 88.6% completion for 322 yards and 4 touchdowns. He did take 3 sacks, QBR of 86.7. So, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How many touchdowns? 4? Gee, mini crickets. 4 touchdowns? 3 something yards?
And he only ran 3 times. He didn't run a lot.
Nor does he have to. Again, there is no smarter running quarterback in the league than Russell Wilson. He knows when to run and when not to run, and he probably knows when to slide better than anybody else. He brings out his old baseball skills. His slides are always perfect. He never gets his feet caught under him. He never looks awkward. You know what I mean? Oh, my goodness. You got to love him, man. And guess what? He's my quarterback in my main fantasy league. And, yes, I did win this week.
Oh, did you really?
He put up huge numbers. 4 touchdowns, 300-something yards. That's awesome. That's an awesome fantasy day.
Yeah, you killed it on fantasy on that one, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man. All right. So, going with the bias.
Yep.
Going with the bias. All righty. Monday night. And they changed the Monday night theme song.
Yeah. That's the one the country singer used to sing.
Yeah.
Got rid of him.
They kind of there's actually an article up on our page about it, and they kind of felt like the whole Monday night party thing was a bit inappropriate with the COVID scenario and all that.
Right. That makes sense. Where you're not having 10 people over your house and you got nachos and we're drinking beers. Yeah, not a whole lot of that's going on.
So they went with a Little Richard song.
A whole lot of that still is going on, but we don't want to encourage it.
Don't want to encourage it. So they went with a Little Richard song. So we're going to rock it up and ball tonight. Little Richard. Yeah. They went with a Little Richard song. So here we go with the Monday night finale for the weekend. Saints at Raiders. Saints probably want to get out of New Orleans with the storms. They got like 5 storms headed down into the Gulf area. I don't know who I feel sorrier for, the people in the Gulf area or the people in California. It's just amazing to me that one part of the country's got too much water and the other can't get the water.
Isn't that terrible?
It's like we're going to have, if we can pipe oil from Canada to the United States, we're going to start piping water from, places that have too much of it. Just a thought. Raiders are taking on the Saints at home. Bias plus score of 10 favors the Saints. And again, as of Madden last week, the Saints were the highest rated team in the game. I expect that they're going to go out. Now, wait a minute. Their number 1 receiver is injured, isn't he?
Yes. Can't guard Mike Thomas is out. High ankle sprain. Not good. An ankle sprain is one thing. A high ankle sprain is something else, especially to a football player. This is where the move to grab Emmanuel Sanders away from the 49ers pays off. He is now elevated to the number 1 receiver on the team. And Tre'Quan Smith becomes the number 2 receiver. They got rid of your boy Ginn, too. Ginn is on another team again. This guy.
I saw his name pop up with like the Vikings or the Bears or somebody like that.
I don't even know if he had any targets, let alone catches, but that's another story. He's basically stealing money at this point. But, and again, you know what? Don't get me started on this Ted Ginn thing. If he had just committed himself to being a kick returner and just concentrated on that, he could have made himself a really big factor in this league. Who knows? He might have been like the guy the Bears had. I'm sorry. Or he could have been like Dante Hall or one of those guys. But he wanted to prove himself as a receiver, and he's pretty much – I don't want to say he hasn't been good at it. I want to say he's failed at it. But enough of that.
I was not happy when my Niners traded him because I wanted him to stay back there and handle our kick return duties. If I remember correctly, it was like the week after he left, the guy that they put back there fumbled on a crucial down and helped us
Yeah,
lose
but
that particular
I don't
game.
think he ever really wanted to do it. I think he felt like he wanted to be known as a wide receiver, or more as a wide receiver and less as a kick returner. And he never really put his heart in it. I know they tried several guys back there. So I don't know exactly what the issue was, but the bottom line is, without Mike Thomas, we're going to see what Drew Brees can do. Now, Drew Brees is going to be Drew Brees. But I don't know that Emmanuel Sanders can get open on the kind of routes that Mike Thomas runs. It remains to be seen. I also don't know if Traquan Smith is going to be able to shake himself loose enough to be any kind of a factor. But I do know this. If Sanders is able to run his routes and catch the ball, which I expect that he will be able to do, Drew Brees has proven that he can live off of one wide receiver and throwing the ball to Kamara. He can do that. He can live off that, and he can win games. You know? Then we give him a little Taysom here and there, and what do you know? Voila, they win the game. I'm going with the Saints. It's going to be tough. The Raiders looked actually decent. Josh Jacobs is a load. He is off to a tremendous start. He's probably leading the league in rushing now after the first game. And he's proven that he's a top-notch running back. But if they fall behind and they have to throw the ball, the Saints defense is going to put the same kind of beating on Derek Carr that they put on Brady last week. They're going to be coming, and they're going to be coming fast, and they're going to be coming hard, and it's going to be tough for the Raiders to slow them down. So, yeah, I like the Saints.
Josh Jacobs had 25 carries for 93 yards last week.
Great game. That's a good game.
That was a good game.
He had a couple touchdowns, too.
Now, let me ask this question. Right near the end, when the Saints were pretty much winning the game, there was some controversy about them still running a play. And I don't remember, but I think that play was the play where Michael Thomas' ankle was hurt. And it seemed like the Saints might be courting some bad karma, because it was like they were trying to run the score up a little bit when they really didn't have to. So if you didn't get a chance to check that out, I won't go into it too deep, because I kind of heard of this on a cursive basis. I didn't really get a chance to look into it heavily. But there's a question as to the wisdom of what they did near the end of the game. They could have literally took knees and pretty much, closed it out, but they, still wanted to run plays. And the Taysom Hill factor, I think, could also come into play this coming week, because he can go out and play receiver, and he can play receiver / quarterback. So they might start running some slash, good old Slash. Remember Slash from the Steelers?
Right. They might just stick him in the slot and go with him. They could do that.
Yeah, because he's that guy. He's that guy. So, all right, you're going with the bias with the Saints?
Yes, sir.
All right, that wraps up the Bias Plus report for this portion of the show. We're going to move on to our commentary. Now, I got a couple points that I want to talk about, or things that I brought up on the Ben and Barry Facebook page. My question is, do you have anything that you want to talk about before that?
No. What do you got? I know you always have something interesting. I've been trying to keep up with our page, with all the other little minute yet important things that I have to do in my life. But if I'm not familiar with it, having seen it, I'm sure I've heard something about it. If I haven't, you will fill me in, because you stay on top of that stuff. So let's have a discussion. What do you got?
All right. Can you see that there?
Yes, I can.
The best and worst in the article. Remember the play where Kittle his knee was hurt from a Buda Baker tackle?
Uh-oh. I think I know where this one's going. I heard a little snippet of something about this. Yeah, go ahead.
So apparently, he received some racist messages. Buda Baker did. People trying to claim he purposely tried to hurt Kittle, things of that nature. The funny thing is, when he actually tackled him, the commentator commended him for a perfect form tackle. He did everything he was supposed to do. And Garoppolo threw the ball up where Kittle had to go up and kind of set Kittle up to get hurt. It was one of those passes that your quarterback didn't help you at all. Kind of put you in a bad situation.
Right.
I have to give it to the Niners, because they hardly came out, and they're looking now to find out who posted that message, and they want to ban that person for life. Yeah, they came out and they're like, we don't. They basically said, this shows why we have so much more work to do.
Well, good for them. And I'm glad that they're willing to try to take some kind of action. This person just might have been looking for a chance to say something racist. It could just be a hardcore Niners fan, hardcore Kittle fan who just kind of lost it. But that would be more a case if the person said it out loud in the heat of the moment. This person took the time to put it on, what was it, on Twitter?
I'm not sure, but Instagram, because apparently Buda Baker posted, whatever that comment was, he posted that comment,
So we're not sure where the comment was, but the bottom line is the person took the time to actually type out a comment.
Yeah, and throw in some good racial slurs.
I'd say those are their true feelings, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if you think he was trying to hurt the guy. We've said that, I think he was trying to hurt him. And it has nothing to do with race,
Right.
But that's where they took it, and the Niners said, no, we're not having that. So kudos to the Niners. I'm glad to see that they stood up. Okay. Here you go, Benny. It's Hall of Fame time. We got Peyton Manning, Calvin Johnson heading the 2021 Pro Football Hall of Fame nominees. It's Peyton time, baby.
Oh, I've been waiting for this. And then let me tell you something. I guarantee he's going to give a great speech.
Oh, my God. I can't imagine.
He's going to give a great speech. He's going to have jokes. He's going to have all kind of stuff. I don't think it's going to be a tearjerker, though. Some of these guys get up there and they start talking and you're like, oh, my God, that's all that. And you start crying and all this stuff. I don't think it's going to be one of those, but it's going to be extremely entertaining. Obviously, in my mind, they both deserve to be first ballot Hall of Famers. Peyton, without question. Some people may question Calvin Johnson because they feel like he stopped playing when he was still in his prime. Hopefully that won't be held against him. Again, he's up against a thing where he's never won a Super Bowl. He played for a team that, finished with not really good records. But without a doubt, he is a Hall of Fame quality football player and deserves to be in.
Well, in addition, you've got Steven Jackson, Wes Welker, Roddy White, Heath Miller, DeBrickashaw Ferguson. I always did like saying his name, DeBrickashaw. Logan Mankins, Jared Allen, Justin Tuck, Kevin Williams, Gerard Mayo, and Charles Tillman. All part of that list of first-time nominees for the Hall of Fame. So,
I don't know, man. That's not such a stellar list of players, if you ask me. Usually you get the list of nominees and you're like, oh, yeah, him. Oh, yeah, him. Oh, yeah, him. Oh, definitely And then you're like, well, maybe. That's a lot of maybes on there, if you ask me. Now, I don't want to offend anybody. I'm sure there are people out there that are fans of some of those players on that list. Brickashaw Ferguson, yeah. Steven Jackson, I don't know. We're gonna have to revisit this one.
All right. Well, again, this is like an initial list. There's a lot of people.
Oh yeah, I understand that.
There'll be some cut downs as we move closer, through the season and move on. Because this is what, September, and the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. We got plans. I got to look at some numbers and
next
all that stuff.
August, or excuse me, next what? They usually name those guys in what, April or something like that.
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
The nominees usually come out around. Yes.
All right, good stuff.
Hey man, if Steven Jackson is up, when's Ricky Waters going to come up?
Ooh, good question.
If Steven Jackson can get at least nominated, I know Ricky Waters can get at least nominated.
And Ricky Waters has a Super Bowl. Huh?
I'm going to start a campaign. I think Ricky Waters deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I really do.
You think they're holding for who for what against him?
I don't know if they're going to hold it against him, but if you look at his numbers, and you look at his rings.
I think
I mean, to me, the only real blemish is for who for what. Ricky Waters is a doggone good running back, and he's got
a great running back,
and he's got numbers, and he was versatile, and he caught the ball out of the backfield. If Steven Jackson can make it on the nomination list, Ricky Waters, I need to see his name pop up in the next year or two.
The weird thing about Waters was when he went to the Eagles, after being in a Niner offense where his versatility was on full display, it seemed as if all of a sudden he wanted to become a 30 carry down back. And it didn't make much sense because that wasn't where he came from, and it didn't even seem like it fit the Eagles scheme, like it could have. So long story short, the finish of his career is not helpful toward moving him toward Hall of Fame. But the numbers, like you said, definitely great numbers, especially when he was with the Niners. So
True.
I don't have anything else.
I don't have anything else either. I thought the first week was extremely interesting. I think we learned a lot of things. I think we have a lot more things to learn. I think that, again, because of COVID, because of the lack of OTAs and the lack of preseason, the rookie class was going to have to show itself whenever the teams felt the need to play these guys, especially the running backs. And then we just had to hope for the best if they played, if you were the fan of the team. Cam Akers with the Rams did not get a chance to really show what he can do because Malcolm Brown is playing pretty well coming out of the gate. But I expect Cam Akers to eventually win over the starting job with the Rams. Some of these other guys, again, I think the teams are going to try to bring them in slowly, like the Ravens did with J.K. Dobbins. A.J. Dillon, I think, is going to be hard-pressed to find playing time with the Packers. But if they have any more big blowout wins like they just had, he's going to get some chances. And A.J. Dillon is a bruising running back. I know you like speed, but you also like power running backs.
Oh, Dillon was a monster.
Is a power running back.
Yeah.
So he's going to get his opportunities. But again, it's early in the season, and he didn't do enough in camp, evidently, to warrant getting more time over Jamal Williams after Aaron Jones. He's the starter, and then they came back with Jamal Williams. So there's a couple other guys out there that have some things to prove. We may have to wait a little bit longer to see that, but I'm very interested to see that. Yeah, we got to take it 1 week at a time and let things develop before we can start making some better predictions. You know, who knows? A team like the Browns could all of a sudden right the ship because, as you said earlier, they have lots of talent. Lots of talent. They got a brand new head coach, though. So because the other head coach seemed to be so bad, I kind of assumed that they would show improvement right off the bat. They didn't, but that doesn't mean that they won't. You know, I'm hearing all kinds of things now today. Week 1 is barely in the books, and they're talking about we're going to trade Odell Beckham to whoever wants him. I don't know who wrote that, and I don't know where they got it from. But this is crazy. Like, it's too early to panic. It's way too early to panic. People think Teddy Bridgewater is not going to be able to hold up in Carolina. I say he will. I think he's a veteran, mature play caller with an innovative coach who's going to be able to do the best he can with what he's got down there. They're going to win some games. There's so much. I love the NFL.
Well, you know, we always call the first 4 games the second preseason when we had a preseason.
When we had a preseason. So what do we call it now? Do we say the first 6 games now?
You know, it could, well, you know, out of 16 games, you know, I usually break it down into quarters. So this is sort of like the preseason to some degree, but you got all your starters out there. So it's not like you have a lot of the backups or whatever, except for all of these injuries. We're going to see a lot of backups.
Right. So again, some guys that might not have been able to get on the field are going to get on the field.
They're going to get on the field.
They're going to have their chance to prove their worth, and they're either going to make it or they're not going to make it. Right now, the Cowboys, for instance, they got some deficiencies on defense in the secondary. Now they're missing linebackers. That's big for them, you know? But by the same token, I think their offense is set and ready to take off. So a lot of their games are going to be shootouts, you know? People don't want to like Dak. People, especially in this city, don't like Dak. But Dak can hold his own. Zeke, don't even mention him. Everybody knows you're going to be hard-pressed to stop Zeke from getting his numbers, okay?
Right.
CeeDee Lamb, another rookie, looks like he's going to make his way, you know? Let's bring on week 2, man. I can't wait.
All right. That wraps up Ben and Barry on football for week 2 of 2020. Mr. Dickerson, any last words?
Only thing I got to say is go Noles.